Hey everyone, welcome to today's Python tutorial for a part 1 of 2 number guessing game. So we're going to get right into it. We're going to import random, which will allow the computer to randomly generate a number. And let's create some variables. Let's create the range that we want to guess the number, and we'll set a minimum variable to 1 and a maximum variable to 100. We're going to create a variable called secret number, and this is going to be the number that the computer randomly generates. So I'm going to do random.randint, which will randomly select the number, and first instance will be minimum and next will be maximum. So it's going to be randomly selecting a number from 1 to 100. Let's keep track of our guesses as well. So we're going to do a guess counter of 0 and guess limit of 7. So I'll run a while loop until the guess counter is equal to the guess limit, and then it will break. But before that, let's print out a little message just saying like guess a number from minimum to maximum, and this is when we're using a formatted string, so we can use the curly brackets. So after that, let's go through the loop, and we're going to loop until we run out of guesses. So here we're going to use a while loop, and it's going to run when true, and it's going to run when the guess counter is less than the guess limit. So for the first instance, guess counter is 0 and guess limit is 7, so that will be true. And every time we loop through we guess, we're going to add 1 to guess counter. So eventually, if we guess a certain amount of times, it will eventually be false, allowing us to break out of this loop. So we're going to try and accept. So in the try, we're going to use a user guess. We're going to create that variable, and we're going to not only ask for an input for the user's guess for a number, but we're also going to assign it to be an integer. Meaning, if it's not an integer, it will run the accept portion, and it'll just be passed as like an invalid entry. So after we have an user guess, we're going to go through an if and elif scenario. So let's say if the user guess is less than minimum, so say it's 0 if we input 0, or the user guess is over the maximum. So this is where our guess is out of range. We're going to prompt the user that your guess is out of range based on the minimum and maximum values. We're going to run elif. So if the user guess is less than the secret number, we're just going to print your guess is too low. But that's not the only thing we're going to run in this elif. We're also going to increment the guess counter by 1. So next time it loops through, it gets closer and closer to our guess limit. Same thing goes for user guess, where if it's greater than the secret number, we are going to we'll be prompted with the guess is too high. Later I'm going to go back to increment these two, but this is just to make sure that the 0 eventually gets to 7, just giving us a certain amount of lives to potentially guess this number correctly. And if we don't guess it correctly, we're going to break out of the code, and it will print us with the error message and what the correct number was. So if we are out of range, this program functions correctly. If we're too low, too high, it's correct. And also, the only other scenario is if we're correct, and if we're correct, we'll break out of the loop. And if we input in the guess input a string instead of an integer, it will just be printed invalid entry. So that concludes the while loop for running this program. Now let's say we ran out of guesses. So that is when the guess counter increments over and over again until it actually is equal to the guess limit and is no longer less than the guess limit. So if that's the case, we are going to create the if statement of guess limit equaling guess counter, and we're just going to print you ran out of guesses. And I'm going to do a f string here, a formatted string, so we can print out the secret number, just so we are informed on what it was actually supposed to be. So that kind of concludes the structure of us guessing the number the computer generated. The next video I'm going to be uploading is the opposite, where we are going to come up with a number of a range, and we're going to direct the computer whether their guess is higher or lower. but let's run this to see how it works. So we're prompted with guess a number from 1 to 100. Let's just guess 50. Guess is too high. 25. Guess is too high. 12. Guess is too high still. 5. We're guessed. Oh, too low. 8. Too low. Alright. Let's go 10. Correct. Alright. So we got the correct number within the proper number of guesses. Now let's just try to enter some invalid entries. So enter out of range. Again, out of range because it's over the maximum. And let's see if the invalid entry works. And let's just see what happens when we run out of guesses. So let's just do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You ran out of guesses. The secret number was 51. So everything works, even if you input an invalid entry, which is really important just to make sure that you're considering other scenarios. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content if you enjoyed this one, and I hope to see you guys in another video here soon.